Hey, what's up, everybody? XRP is still getting hammered down. We're out 50 cents, 51 cents or so. Selling might not be over, but here's the cool part. I'm looking at this fractal here, and I actually like it quite a bit. Obviously, the SEC appealed the Ripple case, and the only real hope here is for Trump to win, Trump to fire Gary Gensler, and for them to clean house and essentially drain the swamp, right? I mean, the guy who filed the appeal just resigned. I mean, what kind of lowball, shady crap is that? I mean, that's just insane. So instead of the SEC protecting investors, they just want to inflict as much damage as they can. That just tells me, that just makes me more bullish on XRP. That just makes me more, it gives me more conviction and confidence in what XRP and the company Ripple is really about. Otherwise, why would they bother? Why? I mean, they lost. They paid the settlement, right? They sat in a room. They hashed out a settlement, and it was over. But so what now, right? Do they want more money? I mean, why are they going so crazy over this? I think it's because what Ripple represents as a company and what the plans are for Ripple and potentially even XRP and their stablecoin. It's a lot of, you know, opinions, but at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, there's all these other crypto scams out there. They're totally scams. Why don't they go after them? Right? Because they don't have no money and they're not in a position where they can really promote change. Or whereas Ripple is in a prime position. So Kamala Harris isn't picking up the phone saying, "Hey, just cut this stuff out." Trump isn't either, but at the end of the day, he did say he would fire Gary, so we'll see about that. But anyway, let's take a look at this fractal here. You can see, this is Algorand, I believe. We had this drop to the downside. And no, this is SHIB. I'm sorry, this is SHIB. We had this drop to the downside. We had this double top. Same thing here. We had this move to the downside. We had this double top. I don't think anybody has ever seen this fractal. I'm showing it for the first time, right? And then what else did we have, right? We came down to support and we flushed the low. Came down to support, we flushed the low, right? And then what it should do, it came back up, right, in a retrace. It came back up in a retrace. And then it came all the way back down and back tested. Same thing here. It came all the way down and back tested. And then it had a sort of this pump, right? And sort of flagging out in here now. So that's kind of what we're seeing in here. It's a decent looking fractal. So we'll see how this progresses, and time will definitely tell. One thing here is we have this A, B, C. I mean, you can clearly see it. It was a pretty big drop. And it got us back down to this key area here. And that's right where the other cryptos are, actually. That's exactly where, like, for example, THETA is right in here, right? It had that three-way move to the upside, came back down. So when we look at XRP, we see that similar type of move, A, B, C, right? And I'm thinking this is not a running flat anymore. This is not an inverse head and shoulders. Those two counts are invalidated. Now, at least we know what the count is, or at least definitely higher probability it is, which is 3 up, right? And then we have, I'm sorry, 3 down, and then we have 3 up, and then we have 5 down. So this is a flat right here. So instead of a running flat, it's a regular flat so far, right? So that's kind of how I'm looking at XRP. It's a really good fractal. Let's see how it plays out. Now, the other one blockchain backer shared this one, which is Algorand. And same kind of thing with Algorand, right? We came up, we had a big top, right? We slammed down to the low. And then we sort of did this McDonald's M right here. Same thing, right? And then what did we do? You can see we took the low out. We took the low out. And then what did we do? We had a 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, this could be 1, 2. And this could be 1, 2. Or this could be 1. And this could be an ABC for a 2, right? So yeah, those are two fractals. I think they definitely have some validity, but a big but, this is a very nasty, ugly looking drop. So it really needs to finish and start making its way back up to give it that look that it's still bullish, because right now it's just, right back down at the lows. So nothing's really changed since, 6 weeks ago. The reason why is because we're still ranging in here, right? Just like how we were before. And then eventually it blasts off. So it blasts off. So how the hell is it going to blast off if the SEC appealed? Well, here's the thing. XRP and Ripple won the first time back last July. XRP is not a security. That is the law of the land. That is not going to change. That is what it is. Then they won again this summer, right? And then they appeal it. They're just doing it to say, ha ha ha, right? They're not going to win, and then they know they're not going to win. But it could go all the way, like Brad Keim said, all the way to the Supreme Court. And if it does that, that would actually be a good thing. It would be a long fought battle, but at the end of the day, it would be complete clarity. But I don't even think it's got to go that far, because that would take some time. But if this is, flagging out in here like it was in here, or range bound, what would basically give that pump to the upside? Well, you could say the XRP ETF, but they're not going to approve the ETF if they're in litigation. That's just not going to happen, right? Gary Gensler is not going to approve the ETF, right? So we have to wait for Trump. That's why we need Trump. If you don't like XRP, then you still want Trump, because we're going to have, once they're done with Ripple, they're going to go after other, they already went after Coinbase. They're trying to rule by enforcement. They're trying to, basically play God over the crypto space. And they're not doing it to protect you and me. They're doing it so that they can get their cut, right? Well, for example, if XYZ coin, is it a security or not a security? The SEC says, okay, come down and register with us. So they go down there and do so. And they go, is it a security? And they go, well, that's up, you have to decide that, right? And then they act as if it's not a security. Then they get sued 6 months later. And they say, well, we asked you before. And they said, well, you should have known better. And it's like, well, you didn't say one way or another. So what's the deal? What's the clarity? And they go, oh, well, there's clarity, So they just give you the runaround. It's all BS, right? So why do they do that? They're trying to get paid. It's all corrupt. It's corruption, 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 corruption. That's what it's all about. It's all about backdoor deals, them getting paid off, them getting their cut. Because the SEC is not a government agency to protect investors. It is a business. It is the mafia. You ever watch Tulsa King? Right? You ever watch The Sopranos? You ever watch whatever? Love those, They come in there and they act like they own the place. And they basically don't, they basically want their cut. And it's all BS. Right? So here's how we explode out of here. Obviously, the election, Trump wins. He becomes president by January. 20th or so, he fires Gary Gensler. They get briefed maybe 2 to 3 months later. They drop the appeal, and we're ready to go by sometime in the spring. Now that's still a ways away, and I'm not sure how that structure would look. But maybe we don't even need to get that far. So I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm not going to sell my XRP just because they appealed. Look, Ripple won. We won. It's over. They appealed. Yes. People reacted, right? You could see the big dump. They reacted. But the thing is there's always an excuse. There's always a narrative as to why things dumped, like, right? So if the market makers want to push it down that far for liquidity reasons, they need a reason. They need a narrative, right? So what better narrative than the SEC appeal? Is it all correlated in somehow? Are they all in cahoots with the market makers? I don't think it goes that deep. Maybe it does. But I think it's just the way, it's the mystery of how really markets work, right? So anyways, let's jump into some analysis here. So those are the two fractals. There's another fractal he shared, and I really like this one too. This is basically the broader sense of, so we basically had this three-way move to the upside, right? Slam back down to the low, A, B, C, right? And then we have a 1, 2, 1, 2. This could be a 1, 2, 1, 2. So I've already shared this fractal before, not the Algorand one, but something similar to that. Basically the count being this A, complex B, C. And and I'm going to show you what I believe is happening here in just a moment. So here's another screenshot that I took. This is for the broader, the sort of the macro move here. And you can see what XRP has done, right? It basically did this ABC, right? So we could be the whole market, right? This is total. That's the total market. We could be getting, flagging out now. So remember how I would say, like, soon we're going to be flagging out. When are we going to get that? Well, it looks like that's already started. So we could be doing something like this before we get that big move higher. So something like this before we get that move higher. And that's what I'm believing. That's what I've been thinking. I just wasn't sure if we were going to break first, then flag out. So here's like a screenshot I did back. Back when, I think that was like a couple weeks ago or a week ago or so, when Theta was above $1.43. You can see this flagging out. Now we are pretty steep, so let me zoom in here a little bit. So far Theta came up and it dropped down, and it dropped actually a lot further, right? So, but nonetheless, we want to see some flagging out in here. Then eventually break out, back test, and then continue higher. And I still stand by that, and I still believe that. So here's a chart that I found pretty interesting. Basically, it seems like the beginning of the month, like I was talking about the monthly candle, once it closes, you get a lot of selling pressure at the beginning of the previous month. And it could be the opposite. It could be bullish as well, depending how the candle closes. But essentially here we had, like, for example, we landed on July 5th. We came down, right? We were crashing those first few days of the start of the month. We came back up, right? And then same thing here. The beginning of August, we had all of these dumps in here, right? And then, same thing again. September, we had all of this dump and selling, right? And then we came back up. So now, fast forward today, we're down here in October, same kind of things happening. So maybe this is the pivot point like it was the last several times, right? June, July, August, September. This was the pivot to the downside, pivot to the upside, 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 right? And now we're down here. It could be a pivot back to the upside. So we'll see. Let's look at a couple other assets. I'm going to go back to XRP and I'm going to tell you what I think is going on the immediate time frame. But first, you can see Matic here on the 4-hour chart. Look at the bullish divergence. As I was saying yesterday, it played out exactly. Basically, we were, creating some divergence. Now we don't know if this is a fourth wave, right? So like 1, 2. You come down for 3, you have like a flat here for 4, and then you flush the low for 5, right? So something like this where you get even more divergence. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Now, if we can break above that line there, 40 cents, then most likely that correction is over. At least for the time being, because this could turn into an A, B, and a C, right? Or an A, B, and a sort of reaccumulation. So let's look at total 3. Same kind of thing. We're oversold, want to see a bounce, and then a hit to the low, and I think we're done. That's kind of how I'm thinking here. Theta. Now look at this. So when we look at the price of Theta on the top of the screen and we compare it to for example, SHIB, right? You can see, we had this move down, right? And basically that was kind of like our C19 style, right? Our C19 style. And then what's really interesting is the way it came back up is like identical, especially this move right there. So, yeah, this move and this move, I mean, just look at it. It's beautiful. It's a perfect match, right? And then also the move down is a perfect match. Boom, right? And then also the move up is a perfect match. Boom, boom. But the move down is rather impulsive versus back over here. So that's the only difference. But I think, it's still valid, right? Based off where we are. So we have to look at exactly where we are, right? So where we are is at the top of this wave here. And where she landed was in the same spot. So basically the top of this, right in there. So that's kind of where we are right now, right? So what we want to see is a move back up, and then instead of a C leg, we want to see like reaccumulation and then go, right? So kind of like a little bit of a flag here, but the shape has not yet taken shape yet, so we have to wait and see for that. But definitely oversold, definitely on support here. Do I think it's completely done? Probably not. Like I said, you probably need to flag out for a fourth and then come down and take the low for a fifth, get that divergence, and then kind of do your thing here. And that would be something like that before we can go higher, right? Because all of these waves are I shouldn't say bigger, but the way I have it labeled here is definitely bigger. So anyways, again, you can see XRP on the small time frames, right? And when I compare it to what Bitcoin's done, you kind of roll over, right? You kind of roll over again. So we want to see like a little bit of a base, a pump, and then some flagging out in here, right? And that would be the spot to take a stab at a leverage trade for me, right? Not financial advice. Now, for hodlers and investors, dollar cost averaging for a spot position is beautiful. This is exactly the kind of prices hodlers, spot buyers are interested in, right? Is these levels here. Now, as a trader, you got to be a little bit more precise than that, right? Because let's say you go long here with 5 or 10x and then you take the low out, well, you just lost a lot of money right there. So you got to be, unless you had a stop loss. But for me, I want to wait and see if we take this out and then see if we can flag out in here. But let's talk about real quick here with theta. I'm gonna do the XRP small term analysis. I mean, basically the current structure we're in now. So again, theta has broken above this downward resistance line, and you can see what remember what I said, right? When we broke above it, we could easily come down and back test it, and that's exactly what we did. We broke above the downward resistance line, and now we hook. So they call it a break, hook, and go. That's what they typically call it. So we'll see if we get something like that. The other thing is, right, this is an important level right here. And this is an important level right here. Okay? And then let me just remove that. And then once this range is finished, it could be, like I was saying in here, it could be Wyckoff, right? So we have this sort of Wyckoff behavior. We bounce off the trend line. We start curling back up. Once it's finished, obviously it might not be finished yet. We start curling back around. We play here, pop the high, and then we start flagging out. Boom. And then continue higher, and then go. So something along those lines is what I'm thinking here. It could be as well as that example shared earlier, where we have sort of like an A, we come up for a B, and then we come down for C. Basically, we kind of do something like this, and then shoot up, and then go, right? So that it would be a much longer flagging out. But the thing is, if we did something like that, when we break this, we wouldn't have to necessarily come down and flag out again something that big, right? So it would be, because we've spent so much time here accumulating, there's less accumulation going on the way up. So one of those are the two main ideas that I have for the price of theta and basically all the other coins, is some sort of drawn out kind of ABC, finishing that Wyckoff, rounding out, and then continuing higher. So we got to sit tight for a little bit longer. Again, we're coming up on November. I think we're going to get a boost probably in towards the end of October, or even mid-October we get a bounce. But it's really, nothing's going to happen, I think, until that election is confirmed. So when we look at XRP versus Bitcoin, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a wave 1. All of that's wave 1. And then if you look closely, what do you see? We have a 3-wave move down, we have a 3-wave move up, and we have a 3-wave move back down. That is a WXY. That is a 3-wave move down, and that is a wave 2. If that's the case, then we should see, maybe, obviously, if this is a WXY, maybe Y isn't finished. Or it could also be an ABC, where we get sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that could be C. It could be an extended sort of 3-wave correction. So I'm treating it as a WXY now, but it could turn into a C leg. Basically just means a little bit further down. But all in all, we should be finishing down here and then continuing higher. I mean, that's, anytime you get a 5-wave move and a 3-wave pullback, that's what you want. And and if we look at this from a range perspective, like let's say we're going to range in here, right? Then what I could see is a move down. Obviously, we come back up, and then we kind of circle around in here and then go. So kind of that Wyckoff pattern. So this could be drawn out for a little bit. Bottoming process takes time. That's just the thing, because there's a lot of consolidation, there's a lot of accumulation. So it's just kind of a patience. We gotta have patience. There's no other crypto. There's no other asset class in the world like crypto. Crypto is an instrument that could very much well put you at a much higher sort of, status, right? So I think all of this is just going to take time, because again, the time's going to pass regardless, so you might as well be in crypto. There's just no denying how much growth is yet to come. But getting over those deep state hurdles, because again, we're at a war over the financial system, and crypto is a threat to it, and that's why they're pretending like they don't think it's a threat, but at the same time they are, right? And then they have the CBDCs to counter the cryptos, but it's not going to work. So all right, let's go to XRP and let's look at what's happening here. So obviously we're still in this range, right? Nothing's broken, nothing's happened, everything's fine so far, right? We still had a higher high and we still have a higher low. So nothing nothing has broken yet, right? So we're still good on that. So what do I think is happening here? Well, let's talk about what was originally said. So what I originally said was this is a 5-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 3 down, we have 3 up, and we have 3 back down. That's a WXY. And then we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move to the upside, right? And then this is a wave 1, this is a wave 2, and then let's go, right? So we have like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You can also look at it like that. Okay, so that's still in play, but it's not probable anymore because of how dark and deep and ugly that correction is, right? You can see this is the clear definition. Like, this is a beautiful correction. This is a crash, right? This is a correction. This is an impulse. So anyways, we have our range here. So what's the new, or what's the other alternative idea that we've talked about before, but we didn't really talk about it lately because we were breaking out? Well, it is right here. I'll show you exactly what I think is happening. So we have a 3-wave move down. Boom. That's a W. And then we have 1, 2, 3 up. So instead of this being 3 up, it's a more complex 3, right? So like, think of it like a B wave or a C wave, right? So for example, like when we look at Bitcoin here, or no, actually XRP, right? This over here, remember the complex B wave that we've talked about many times right here? How you, instead of this being A, B, C, it's actually got moved over. So A, and then this whole thing is a 3-wave move, right? 1, 2, 3. So it's a complex B, right? So it took more waves for that B wave to play. So if we zoom back in here, that's probably what is happening right now. So again, you have 1, 2, 3. It's a complex B wave or X wave. So anyways, we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and now it looks like we're getting 5 down. Maybe like a 1, 2, 3, maybe we go 4, and then we go 5, right? And then we sort of level out and then go. So what is that? This is a flat, right? So instead of the count we had before was a running flat, the difference here is that it's either a regular flat or an expanded flat. So A, B, C. So let me just take everything off the screen. I'll put the range on again, and you could put it here, but I would actually put it probably down here to be a little bit more conservative with these levels right in here. And essentially, A, B, and now we're going down for C. And then once that's, and then what that is a wave 2, right? So we have a 1, 2, right? Now to the untrained eye, they look at this and they go, what the hell is it doing? It's going up, it's going down, it's going up, it's going down. But if you look at the wave structure, and this is why I think it's very important to learn these charts, is because it tells a story, right? When we count the waves, and that's how it lets us know. So it's not a for sure thing. It's all about probabilities at the end of the day, and it's not financial advice. It could be totally wrong, right? So just like here, when we broke out, I said there's a good chance we can come down and back test and hold, but we just sliced right through it, right? Now, did we know that? No. What happened? Now, not to say excuses or anything, but again, it's very unfortunate that the SEC had to do that. But anyways, it happened, it's over. It's not as, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. We could have lost the low, right? We could have lost even these 2 lows, but we didn't. So, again, everybody in the world knows about it, right? It's been a full 24 hours. So most people on the planet already know. Most people who sold probably already did sell, and who's ever left to sell would probably sell at the retracements. But I think all in all, it's pretty much oversold and starting to look for a bottom in here. Now, the way things bottom, right, again, you hit the low, you kind of roll over again, and you start creating that divergence. But let's see if we can, now that we know it's a flat, I mean, we've always known, we just didn't know if it was a running flat or a regular flat. Then what is this in the grand scheme of things? Well, if you look at the daily, obviously we're in reaccumulation. And this chart right here, nothing has changed as far as the macro chart, right? So we have a rise, a crash, retrace, come down for reaccumulation, box 1, box 2, liquidity grab, go. Same thing. Rise, crash, have the red box, the deviation, come back in a retracement, come down into reaccumulation, box 1, box 2, liquidity grab. So, and I think you know, the deep state knows that, right? And that's why they're pulling out, they're expending their ammunition, like the appeal, you know, right at the appropriate time. So I think they came out with the ETF, and the deep state knew that, and they wanted to counter the ETF sort of momentum, right? So, you know, the good guys, the bad guys, both sides have ammunition, right? Like I've said, XRP has a lot of ammunition, and they still do, right? The ETF people are, I mean, that basically got overshadowed by the, bad news gets overshadowed by the good news. But once everything subsides, we still have the good news to look forward to, which is the ETF. So for the appeal, it already happened. But yes, nothing's changed in the grand scheme of things. But when we look over here, right, like I've said, this is obviously 3 up, 3 down, 5 up. So we have an ABC, and then we have 1, 2, 3 down. So we have 3 up, 3 down, right? And this could be the beginning of a larger wave move to the upside. So we have a wave 1 flagging out for a wave 2. Then we go wave 3, 4, and 5. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 3 up, 3 down, 5 up. So you have an A, a B, and a C. And this ABC can turn into something even bigger later on. And we'll talk about that as when it's appropriate. So that's kind of what we are now. And inside of this right here, right, is the flat pattern. So boom, boom, and boom, right? We also have this trend line, and a lot of times trend lines get broken. This one got broken, and liquidity is resting down here. So we probably bounce up to the trend line and then come back down, right? So I'm looking at, this thing can be, as long as we stay above 43 cents, I think we're doing okay as far as the flat goes, right? So let's look at the wave structure here on the 1 hour. So we have a wave 1, 2, and then it appears, I would imagine that all of this would be wave 3. And now we're starting to flag out for wave 4. And then we probably get wave 5 later on, and then that would be a done deal. So we'll find out. We'll see how that works. But right now we're actually building a base. This is pretty good, right? Buyers are stepping up to the plate. And remember, we had the 8-hour 9 yesterday. Turned on the sequential. So there's your 9 right there. We had a perfected 9, and now the following candle is like a doji, another doji, right? So the 8-hour 9 is still in play. But look, I bumped that up to a 10-hour chart, and now we have a 10-hour 9. And that's also a perfected 9. So we have a 9 buy on the 10-hour chart. So that's interesting. The following candle is a doji, right? 12-hour chart, middle of nowhere. 14-hour chart, we're on a 7. So 8, 9 coming up soon. And I think that would be the 16-hour chart. We're going to get a 9 in about 5.5 hours. So then you need another 16 hours after that for it to close. But yeah, I think all in all, we're getting pretty exhausted to the downside, and there needs to be some kind of bounce recovery rally. Now, here's what I'll say, guys. You can say, oh, the appeal. But look, this is proof that XRP don't give a damn about what's going on. Because when you go back in time, right, this is the dump that occurred. We had the SEC coming in and suing Ripple, right? We had that huge crash. It was only one crash. That's it, right? So the SEC, it came out, it had the crash, we dumped down, and that was it. That was it. And since then, we've always been despite all of the lawsuit and everything, the low here was 17 cents. And since that day, we are still above 17 cents. We've never went back down to that low, to that bottom of the crash, right? And then fast forward, Ripple won the lawsuit, and then they won again just last summer and this summer, right? So Ripple got sued, price dumps, and then the selling pressure is exhausted. It's over. People, I mean, they don't forget about it, but it's, it's kind of a done deal. It's cheap, right? We broke through all this liquidity down here, and then what happened? We had a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We basically, shot up, and then we started flagging out. So if we compare that today, right? So again, we just had the news, just like last time. The news came out, we had the big dump. Okay? So the news just came out, we have the big dump. So maybe it dumps a little bit more. Maybe it's not finished yet. But eventually it will be. And then what happens? Right? We pop the high, we flag out. Okay? We get back up here. We kind of play around a little bit, and then we kind of go sideways, and then boom, we break out. So that's what I'm looking at. Something like that. That's definitely a contender, right? And then what that would be is a 1. We have the flat here for a 2, so 1, 2, and then we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5 later on. So it's literally identical to what was going on before. And by the way, the first time they got sued, that's actually the beginning of the litigation. We're at the end. I mean, it's over with. Yes, they had the appeal, but at the end of the day, I mean, they've already lost. And they can, they're just appealing for political or whatever reasons to inflict damage. I mean, they all the legal scholars say there's no chance. You look at Jeremy Hogan, you look at John Deaton, you look at Meta Lawman, you look at Fred Rispoli. I mean, all of them. They all think it's done. It's a done deal. So the news is the most bearish part. Just like how you buy the rumor and you sell the news, right? So for example, it's the opposite. The rumor was here, right? So they said, okay, they're gonna appeal. So let's pump the price up so that we can exit our position, and then let's dump it. And then in the middle of the dump, we'll let the XRP ETF news comes out. That way it brings in more of the herd, brings in more liquidity so that we can push the price down even further. Once it's all said and done, the dust settles, it's over. But guess what? Everybody feels like, oh, it's going to be another 2 years. It's going to be another year or 2 years or 3 years. It's going to be another 6 months. Oh, it's going to take forever or whatever. But again, the prices things in way before they happen. So I think the crash, right, once it's complete, somewhere between now and, I would say the mid 40-cent area, once it's complete, I think that's it. It's a done deal. And we're on our way back to the upside. So, if this was, like, for example, if this was like 2022 and we still had another 2 years of Joe Biden, it would be, probably wouldn't be so optimistic, right? But it happened actually at a good time because Trump's coming in very, very soon, and hopefully they drop the appeal, right? Because they have the appellate or I don't remember the word, but there's something that they go in and they sit down in a meeting and they say, okay, how can we hash this out without having to go through court and spend millions and millions of more dollars trying to fight this lawsuit. So I think there's a lot of shenanigans here. I think this was a massive trap, a bear trap. That's what I think. I think this move was designed because a lot of XRP holders sold. A lot of them didn't, but a lot of them did. They go, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. And maybe that was the right call. And I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm not selling. I'm going to hold this one out. Maybe it's a stupid decision, but it's my decision. And I've already made my mind because there's no, I think there's no company in the world like Ripple, and there's no other crypto company in the world that's in the same position as Ripple, the same partnerships, the same, all of the things they've done, all of the people they're involved with. And I think we're at the very beginning of what's to come. And I think just like C19, everyone thought, okay, the world's shut down. We got to sell all our stocks. It's going to keep going down. But eventually, it's one crash, right? We have the big crash, and then it's over, right? You have the crash, right? Same thing over here. You have the crash, and it's basically one crash, right? Same thing here. One crash, right? There's no difference. So, but people's psychology is, well, it's going to continue to crash because it has to, because people are, because we got to deal with the SEC. But look, the law of the land is XRP is not a security. XRP is the only digital asset with clarity, right? This whole appeal thing is a news narrative type of event, right? Designed to bring the price down. But again, it's not going to keep going down. It might, but I don't believe it will. I believe this crash is going to wrap up soon, and I think that's it. It'll be done. And then once it starts breaking out, right? Because if this is a 1, we have a flat here for a 2, right? And let's say it's got to be a little bit more than that. Okay, so be it. We come up here, 1, 2, and 2. We kind of slide out a little bit, and we break out. Once we start breaking out of here, guys, XRP was at $2. $2. Right? $1.50 more than what it is now with a lawsuit. With basically the beginnings of a 4-year lawsuit. Right? And it was at $2. So once it starts breaking out, people are going to be confused. Well, wait a minute. Why is XRP breaking out? The SEC appealed. I don't understand. Look, people, I'm not saying they're going to forget, but once momentum comes back and price action proves itself, at that point, nobody's going to give a flying F that they appealed because the price is proving them wrong. Price is king. Price dictates everything, right? So if price is breaking out above this 1-year range, look at how long this thing is. If price starts breaking out of here, it's going to have a lot of momentum. The chart doesn't care. The technicals don't care. The supply and demand, right, has an effect on the news narrative. But once we start breaking out here, if we start breaking out, because I still think this is a 3-way move. This is a 1, this is a 2, this is a flat, and we're got to bottom out here and start curling up. Once that's the case and we start breaking out, people are not going to even think about the appeal anymore because price is telling them. So you have the narrative and the news event telling you bad news, and you have the price to go along with it. But then the news kind of settles down, the dust settles, then the price says, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm going to start breaking to the upside. And that's when people say, well, wait a minute, what's going on? Why is it breaking out? And that's where optimism returns. That's people sold here and they're going to buy back here. You watch. And then once that happens, again, they're not going to even think about the appeal anymore. And then maybe that's when Trump decides, or that's when Trump gets in, right? And he fires Gary Gensler. So let me just give you a little diagram here of play-by-play action. So let's see, Trump comes into office about right there, right? And then we have our, now this is not this is just a projection. This is just, we have a flat here, kind of play around, go sideways, we start breaking out, right? And then maybe we kind of come down, we back test, Trump fires Gary Gensler, they drop the case, and then we just go bananas, right? I mean, that is totally possible and even likely, I think, as far as Trump firing Gary Gensler. Now, as far as the price getting back up here within that time frame, now that's still up for debate. But if this is a flat, then let's do some time analysis here. So I'll take a Fibonacci tool, trend-based fib time, right here. I'll put it from the bottom, and then I'm going to go, let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to go to the top right here, and then I'm going to come back down. Let's see if I double click right here, you can actually see this correction is overextended. So what I would do is, if I treat it as a 1-2-1-2 and I do the same thing and I put that bottom right about there, you could still see we're overextended from that move. So as far as time goes, I mean, we're overdue for this wave 2 to be complete. Okay. So that's just the way it is. Now, let's talk bearishly for a second. Let's say all of that stuff is wrong, and it may be wrong, right? Then what do we see going on here? Well, we have all of this incredibly strong resistance, right? And we have all of this support. So as long as we're in there, as long as we're ranging, we have to remain sort of neutral, okay? So let's say, obviously, we break this, we're bullish. We break this, we're bearish, right? But until then, we have to remain neutral. So if we do break this, we break it to the downside, we retest that resistance, we could be coming back down here to the lows, right? And if we break that, then we're most likely going down to like that 17-cent area again. And this whole thing becomes a big 1, 2, 3. It becomes a big three-way move like that down to that 17-20 cent area, and then go up like that. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that we break that range, because of all of crypto's sake, right? This is not just XRP. I'm talking about all the cryptos, because if XRP goes down, I mean, look how much the rest of the market got slammed down. I mean, just look at THETA, right? I mean, we got slammed down all because of the Ripple getting appealed. I think not. I think that was just the timing of the narrative as to why the price dumped. So let's go to Bitcoin for a minute. And let's look at the 1 hour. So Bitcoin actually looks okay. Look at that. We got some strong bullish divergence. You see how it's kind of shaping up here? It kind of looks like a fractal I'm about to show you. How we drop down. Right? We have this head, this shoulder, and this other head, and it kind of looks like a slanted head and shoulders, and then what ends up happening is it goes up like that. Now let me show you the example. It's right here. I'm going to show you right now. It's right here. Remember this? It's the same. Look at, guys, it's the same thing. It's the same looking thing. where we drop down, we have a little bit of a shoulder, you have a head, you have another shoulder, you're slanting down, and then you kind of hit the low, and then what do? You pop up. You flag out, you pop up again. So let's go back. Let's zoom in. Look at that. Same type of thing going on here. So if that's the case, then maybe something like this before more down. I don't know. We'll see. Can't go too far ahead. But as far as other than that, as far as Bitcoin goes, other than that, we are still holding support. Nothing is broken yet. We had a higher high. We had a higher low. Everything's okay right now. So as long as we stay in that range, I think we're doing okay. So this could either be an A, B, C. This could be a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. Or we're getting a wave like this. You see that wave right there? We could see something like that again, like this. Right? Another slam down to the low. In which case, this would be 1, 2, 3. And that would be a 3-wave move. And this whole thing would be 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 back down, and then go up into that 5th wave. So it'd be a double 3. It'd be a massive, complex WXY. Right? So those are the options right there. So we'll see how this week progresses. It is Thursday. We had all that selling pressure yesterday, so it doesn't surprise me that we're kind of slowing down here. You can start to see the dojis coming up here. Those are bullish hammers. We have 1, 2, 3 bullish hammers in a row. We don't have any sequential on Bitcoin right now. That one was not a good one. Let's see. Oh, wow. Yes, we do. We have a 12-hour 9 buy, and it's semi-perfected. We have a very interesting, a bullish pin bar, like a hammer candle style. So, yeah, it looks pretty interesting. Now, eventually, I want to see a retracement back to these levels in here. So, maybe this, if it's finished now, we go up. If we have another low, we still go up, whatever. But we want to get up here, and then either it turns into an ABC or it turns into a reaccumulation. So we'll see when we get there. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. What a freaking week this was. Very unfortunate, but the show must go on. We must prevail, and it's not going to deter me away from my crypto. If anything, it just makes the connection that I have with understanding just how powerful crypto really is and how it can change really our whole financial system. I mean, Trump just tweeted out just yesterday about the DeFi platform and crypto and things like that. So once we get that regulation, once he's in office, once Gary Gensler's fired, I think there's going to be a lot of optimism. And I think this is just a big shakeout, right? I mean, because how do you shake people out? You got to have some big thing that pushes people out, right? So maybe that was their move, that they expended their ammunition. So what else do they have in their bag? Another thing real quick, the DXY has broken out. That's probably why this is all going on too. So I kind of ignored the DXY. I should have been paying much more attention to it. But look at it. I mean, we had this impulse and we had a 3-wave pullback. So this could be part of a B wave back way up here before we go back down. And this could be the start of it. If so, if we get something like that, then that means Bitcoin's going down into reaccumulation. So we'll find out. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.